The Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU, has become the most popular comic book movie franchise, and part of what has made the franchise so successful is the immense amount of planning that goes into nearly every aspect of each film's production. This enormous quantity of planning includes efforts to make sure fans aren't able to find out any spoilers before the next movie comes out, which requires everyone involved in the production keep their mouth shut when it comes to talking to the audience. But despite all the precautions, these plans haven't always worked out the way they were supposed to, because many actors from the film franchise have accidentally let slip some pretty massive spoilers for future films. Some of the worst culprits include Mark Ruffalo and Tom Holland, both of whom have accidentally spoiled some pretty major aspects of future MCU films on multiple occasions. Join Trender as we explore Marvel actors who spoiled their own movies. Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. is arguably the foundation that the pyramid of the MCU films is based upon, being one of the first of many stars cast. Iron Man came out in 2008, and few people could have expected the immensely successful multiple-film franchise that was born from it. Given that Robert has been with the franchise since the first day, he's come to be seen as somewhat of a father figure amongst the rest of the MCU cast. But that doesn't mean Robert hasn't slipped up and let some important secrets spill during his decade-plus in the MCU. When 2012's The Avengers was being filmed, fans were highly anticipating the first of several planned superhero team-up films and were desperately clamoring to get their hands on any information they could. They took notice when Robert Downey Jr. revealed in an interview that the main cast of the film was reassembling to shoot one final scene just days before the film was set to premiere. While this info didn't leak any direct information about the film, it did cause reporters to begin hassling writer and director Joss Whedon to figure out what exactly the final scene being filmed was. As it turns out, the scene being filmed was just the memorable yet inconsequential post-credits scene in which the Avengers are seen eating shawarma, so fans likely wouldn't have been too let down by the spoiler. Mark Ruffalo. Unfortunately, the spoilers that have been leaked accidentally by Mark Ruffalo have been a much bigger deal. Mark has spoiled future MCU movies multiple times, with the biggest spoilers being in regards to the films Thor Ragnarok and Avengers Infinity War. During the premiere of Thor Ragnarok, Mark accidentally streamed the first 15 minutes of the film via his Instagram account. When it came time to do press panels for Avengers Infinity War, both Mark and Tom Holland let slip that many characters died at the end. Tom Holland. Tom Holland is perhaps the most notorious spoiler in the MCU's cast. In addition to spoiling the ending of Avengers Infinity War, alongside co-star Mark Ruffalo, Tom has also spoiled many other aspects of the film franchise, particularly in regards to the films involving Spider-Man. Tom has played Spider-Man since his debut in 2016's Captain America: Civil War, and the third solo film featuring the character will have premiered by the end of 2021. One of the first spoilers Tom let slip about the MCU was the fact that he had been hired on to do a whole solo trilogy as the character of Spider-Man. Tom let this slip while doing press for the first solo Spider-Man feature to enter the MCU, which was Spider-Man: Homecoming. He later spoiled the fact that his character died during the end of Avengers Infinity War, and also memorably opened up a poster for the film during a live broadcast, only to reveal the poster included a sticker warning that it wasn't meant to be seen by the public. Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow made her MCU debut alongside Robert Downey Jr. back in 2008's Iron Man, though she hasn't returned to the franchise quite as often as Robert. Gwyneth was cast as the character of Tony Stark's love interest, Pepper Potts. The actress was infamously absent from numerous films in the franchise, leading fans to wonder when she'd make a return. When it came time for Gwyneth to come back to the MCU in a big way with Avengers Endgame, Gwyneth accidentally spoiled some pretty major aspects of the film. Not only did she spoil the fact that she was returning, but she also spoiled the fact that her character and Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark were going to have a daughter in the film. The pair's daughter ended up being a major plot element of the movie. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Trender for more. And stick around for more Marvel actors who spoiled Marvel movies. Frank Grillo. Frank Grillo made his MCU debut alongside Tom Holland in the 2016 film Captain America: Civil War. But Frank's character was a much less prominent one, and only die-hard comic book fans likely even knew that the character Frank was playing was actually the character of Crossbones from the Marvel Comics. Despite the fact that Frank's role in the film was rather small, fans still hounded the actor afterwards about whether or not he was going to return as Crossbones in a larger capacity. Although the role certainly wasn't any bigger than his role in Captain America: Civil War, Frank did end up coming back to reprise Crossbones in Avengers Endgame. But he ended up spoiling his return to the franchise beforehand, along with the fact that a good deal of the film's plot revolved around time travel that would be used to defeat Thanos. Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista spoiled the fact that many of the same characters from Infinity War were going to return in the follow-up film Avengers Endgame. Although the spoiler that the characters would return was arguably a much less drastic spoiler than the fact that they died in the first place, given that most fans expected the majority of dead heroes would still return in some form during the next film, Dave's revelation still counts as a pretty major spoiler. Zoe Saldana. Dave Bautista's fellow Guardians of the Galaxy star Zoe Saldana also spoiled the fact that her character was going to return in some fashion after her death in Avengers Infinity War. Although Zoe's spoiler didn't give away any major plot elements, she did verify that her supposed death in Infinity War wasn't going to be her final scene in the franchise, making future resurrection a possibility. Chris Evans. When filming came to an end for Avengers Endgame, actor Chris Evans took to social media to give what seemed to be a pretty definite statement suggesting he was completely done with playing the character of Captain America. When the movie premiered, fans were given a conclusion to the character's arc, which further suggests Chris Evans' social media statement had been a pretty major spoiler in regards to Captain America's fate in the film. Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson is a fairly recent addition to the MCU, having played the character of Mobius on the Disney Plus series Loki. Before the series premiered, Owen let slip that he had grown a mustache to play the character, leading him to receive an anonymous text message on his phone simply stating that Owen's revelation of the spoiler had been the actor's first strike. Evangeline Lilly. One of the upcoming films in the MCU is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Recently, Evangeline Lilly made an Instagram post regarding the film that tagged actor Corey Stoll, who had appeared previously as the character of Yellowjacket. Fans weren't expecting Yellowjacket to make a return appearance in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but it seems as if Evangeline's social media post offers a pretty big indication that the character is going to. Sebastian Stan. Sebastian Stan played the character of the Winter Soldier, and he let a pretty major spoiler slip during the filming of Endgame. In 2018, Sebastian accidentally revealed that actress Michelle Pfeiffer had been present during the filming of a scene for the movie. Michelle made her debut in the MCU that same year in the film Ant-Man and the Wasp, playing Ant-Man's wife. Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson has been in the MCU for just about as long as Robert Downey Jr., though he has let slip a few more spoilers than Robert ever has over the course of his time with the franchise. One spoiler Samuel let slip was that 2017's Captain Marvel was finally going to show the MCU audience why his character, Nick Fury, has had to wear an eye patch over his eye since his debut. Later, Samuel Jackson also spoiled that time travel was going to be a part of how Thanos was going to be defeated in Avengers Endgame. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know that Tom Holland and Mark Ruffalo have each spoiled more about the MCU than all the other stars of the series combined? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Trender if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.